Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha Brasher here from New Earth Children. And I am so excited today to bring on a very, very special guest. The excitement's brewing. I have Alexandra Wenman with me, and I'll give a brief introduction. Obviously, if you're not familiar with her work, she's an author, a teacher, spiritual healer, alchemist. You're right, amazing poetry. You do lots of teaching and just very inspiring work over a decade now. And I was connected with you a couple of years ago, and that was pretty much a highlight in my career so far. You invited me to come on your podcast about 3 or 4 years ago to talk about light conception, and we've stayed in contact. And we thought on the 4th of July, I would invite you to come on here on New Earth Children to talk about, I think initially we were going to talk about your personal journey and story, and hopefully we'll dive into a bit of that. But before hitting the record button, we realized that there's so much more to talk about than just, these babies that are coming through, but, us as children, partnerships, relationships. So we're going to go down all sorts of pathways. So, get comfortable, get relaxed and join us. But just a wonderful, warm welcome, Alexandra. It's so nice to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Alisha, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I always love connecting with you, honey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing, actually, how we were connected. I can't remember. It was a friend of mine who had heard you speaking, I think, at a conference about your pregnancies, and she messaged me because she knew about what had gone on with me, and she said, "You need to hear this woman." And then that's when I found you, and I cried my eyes out listening to everything that you were saying. And I thought, I need to connect with her. And I knew I needed to connect with you on a personal level, but then I thought, let's talk. And it's very nerve-wracking, I guess, talking about these topics because they're so out there.
And they really are.
They really are. And they're very, the whole journey's been very heartbreaking as well and very emotional. But I think it is time, I guess, to talk about what's going on for a lot of people. There's a lot of not normal stuff going on in the world at the moment,
isn't there? And I mean, I think about it now. I think the interview I did with you was one of the very first that I did openly talking about it, and that's never been an easy process for me. And you made it so warm and welcoming and inviting. I think for me, it was groundbreaking for me because I was talking to someone who could actually empathize and understand rather than asking questions in a very foreign language of circumstances and situations. So I want to thank you for that. And I think mentally had to gear myself up tonight to connect with you because I know how emotional last time was, and I can already feel the emotion welling up within me. I thought, oh wow,
I don't know, I shouldn't have worn makeup. I just think it was a bad idea to wear eye makeup today.
So yeah, I feel the same way, but we'll get there. I mean, shall we talk about like from the beginning, because you said something really beautiful about talking about New Earth Children, and that you and I both are New Earth Children, but in the very, very beginning. And I have many theories, but one of them is that it is the increment in frequency of the individual that pass a new generation that are even more higher in frequency or potent in frequency, however you want to look at it. So I know that you're a fellow Aussie and you're currently living in the UK and have done for many, many years. But can you share with me like what it was like to be, you work with angels, archangels, you work with the unseen in all realms and dimensions. Was that gift there from the very beginning? And what was it like growing up for you as one of the early New Earth children?
Well, it was a tough entry into the world, and I think this is why I sort of do have a foot in either dimension, or all dimensions really. I died at birth. And it's funny, I was dreaming about that last night. It was weird. My mother was told she was having a stillborn and not to expect the baby to survive. I was huge. My mother was like a size 6 or something, and I was a big 10-pound baby, and I still have a big head. But yeah, they when I came out, I flatlined and I was basically dead. And my dad is a doctor, and his best friend was the anaesthetist that was on hand in case they needed an emergency cesarean, but it was too late, so they had to high force it me out. I was turned around the wrong way, and I now know I've regressed back, and I've remembered my birth, and I remembered kind of who I was as a soul coming in and what happened. And at the moment I realized I was going to be born a female, I panicked and I tried to climb back out, because I'd had so many traumatic lifetimes in a female body. And this is all connected in with the birth stuff. And a lot of those traumas were around female sexuality, birth and pregnancy, pregnancy loss, children being taken from me, rape, abuse, all kinds of things, you know, abortions gone wrong. And we can talk about that as well, because of what's going on in the world at the moment. But I narrowly, very narrowly survived. And as a child growing up, I could always see beyond. I could see angels, I could see beings of light, I could see not very nice beings as well. I would see the light and the dark in all things. I suffered terribly from sleep paralysis as a child, and I knew I was being attacked in my sleep, and that there were forces trying to move against me. I guess I now know. I didn't know who I was. The message has always come through: remember who you are, remember who you are, remember who you are. And as I grew up, I was sent to Catholic school, and the same old story. You're told to shut down your connection, your imagination, your spirituality, and you're told that you're wrong, you're bad, and you, especially as a woman, should feel guilty for having a female body. But when I was young, I mean, I could telepathically speak to animals and plants. This is all reawakened again. This is all opened up again. I was very multidimensional, very cosmic. My family would call me the dream boat, because I was always off, like I'd be there seeing things all the time. And I wrote amazing stories. I still write now, but I didn't realize at that young age that I was channeling. I started rhyming poetry from the age of 4. But yeah, the angels were always there. I at 14, I was called by spirit. Basically, I had all my ancestors rock up in my bedroom, and I just basically went, no, I don't want to see dead people. And I shut it down. 7 years later, at 21, I moved to London, and it just blasted open, and I couldn't hold back. So I had to then find a way to navigate through all of these feelings and things that I built up in my system. And it was like my empathy, my clairvoyance, everything turned on. And I went through a massive dark night of the soul, but it was like a stripping back. I felt crushed. I was having panic attacks. I was living in a new country and a new city that was very dark and very cold. And I was in a bad relationship at the time. It was like anything that could go wrong went wrong. But it was my kind of reawakening. And yeah, it sort of all flooded in from there.
Wow, I did not know this about you, so I'm sort of fascinated and want to backtrack, but I will backtrack because what you said about realizing that you were in a female body and wanting to, turn back. And I don't even know what my question is, but what came to mind when you said that, because obviously, birth, children, that's a whole big part of this. Newer children, but I remember one, it's not something that I've thought about a lot, but you triggered this in my mind. I remember early stages of my pregnancy journey, going through collective grief of mothers who'd lost children, and it was like, it just hit me. I remember it was nighttime, I was on my balcony, and it just hit me all at once, and it was like I could feel the pain of all the women who'd gone through trauma and lost children to varying degrees. Is that I'm trying to formulate a question here, but do you feel that do you feel that that's been a big part of your path in your own healing, in going through maybe those lifetimes and healing a lot of that as a part of reintegrating into who you are?
It's collective. It's definitely collective. I mean, I've started teaching a World Angel program now because I think there are many of us that are, well, everyone really, the more you heal yourself, you're healing the collective. But I think there are some of us that came in with the express purpose to help heal the collective. And I know that I'm one of those. I know you're one of those. And I had a big path to walk around, healing birth trauma and sexual trauma with women. I'm very connected to the Mary Magdalene story and her lineage. I'm very much on a goddess priestess path, and I've had loads of lifetime. I remember my past life spontaneously, and I think that I think in other lifetimes a Gnostic and an Essene, and I knew I was trained in Egypt how to remember my lifetimes, how to remember who I was, and I've remembered again, and it's again and again and again we come back to remember and to do the work. And so I know very much who I have been and what my capabilities are, and it's often through the worst kinds of heartbreak and struggle that you're cracked open and the memories come flooding back in. They're all like trigger points. And so I think everything that we go through is a blessing. My experience of birth trauma in this life, of pregnancy trauma in this life, has been part of that cycle of peeling back the layers in my psyche and my consciousness so that I would remember that I was practicing light conception. I knew how to do it. I had a particular ability, and it's, even when we did our first interview on my show, I still didn't know the half of it. And I've learned so much more about myself in that journey. And what I'm capable of, what I'm not willing to tolerate, in terms of this. I still don't know if my daughter, who has been appearing to me since 2009, I still don't know if she's going to materialize in physical, but she's around me all the time. And right now I'm sort of facing this crossroads of, as a human woman, I'm 44 years old. Do I even want to have a baby? Now is the question I'm asking myself, because it's already been a very long, hard journey. Maybe she's meant to stay on the other side and help. I still keep being told that she's coming. And, we're in the middle of such a huge gateway at the moment that, when I was going to doctors and trying to get help, and everyone was shutting their doors in my face and not helping, and there was no answers for what was going on with me, at which I will share. I think I will share what was going on with me. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I think it is kind of important. I was told at the end of that journey, it was like the penny dropped, and I got this very clear in 2018, not in this system, not on this timeline, not on this earth. And she's been preparing me. She's been preparing me to step across into the new earth. But I got a very clear message that if this child was going to come, it was not going to be in the medical system here, not in the NHS or any of these systems. It was not going to be in the world that was governed by patriarchy and in a world that ran on suffering. It was going to be in the new diamond earth and in those frequencies that she would arrive. I still feel like I'm being prepared. So should I share a little bit about what's been going on?
Would you go back from you said that she appeared in 2009. Can you start there? I mean,
yeah, it's going to be interesting talking about it. So in 2009, my husband, who was my then boyfriend, and I had been together for only 6 months, but we'd been friends for a long time. And we'd been on our first big holiday together, and we went to Borneo. And in Borneo, I still remember, it was magical. It was a New Year's Eve. It was a full moon. We were staying in an overwater bungalow, and not to be too much information, but I had an experience of Hieros Gamos and cosmic orgasm. And it was incredible. It was like bliss. It was one of the most profound things I think that's ever happened to me. It made me realize that this guy was my partner, right? This was the one. And I knew I was in love with him from that trip. We got back and we'd been out to a friend's birthday. This was early January, sort of mid to late January, I think. We'd been back a couple of weeks, and I had been going, I love this guy. I'm not going to be the first one to say it, though. In typical human fashion, I'm like, I'm not going to tell him I love him. He can say it to me. And one morning we were in bed, and I rolled over. He said, we woke up, it was early in the morning, and he's a Capricorn. He's not the most open with his emotions. So it was quite shocking. And he said, I really love you. and I might not always say it, but I love you. And I rolled over in bed, and lying on his chest was a newborn baby girl. And she was physical. I could see her. It was like he was with this baby. And it was the first time I saw her. It was my first time I connected with her. And I was given her name, and I knew this baby. I knew this child inside out. I knew her. She had dark hair and rosebud lips, beautiful. But she was fresh, she was new. And I thought, wow. And then she was around me from then, and she would appear to me as a little girl. She showed me her adult self. She would show me snippets of what she was going to look like later in life. And she was always with me. And in 2012, I mean, from that point, I'd been on the pill my whole life because I had polycystic ovaries and all kinds of issues and irregular periods and all kinds of things going on with my my reproductive cycle. But I was given a really clear message: come off the pill and just let nature take its course. And in 2012, so I'd been channeling, and I channeled Archangel Alchemy, that system, which is angelic technology, and I channeled another system called Precious Wisdom. So I was working with very high cosmic forces. The higher galactic council of light were appearing to me a lot. And I was going through this massive, rapid spiritual growth period. And in 2012, I started to experience pregnancy symptoms, early pregnancy symptoms. And I went on a retreat to Devon with a friend of mine who was running a psychic retreat, and we were doing they pulled out the Ouija board, and I was booked to go to Egypt at the end of that year, and my grandfather came through and went, you're not going, you're pregnant. And I got this clear message, you're pregnant. And I'd been dizzy and queasy, and I could feel a fluttering in my womb. And I would Google, you look up the internet symptoms of, like, these are pregnancy symptoms. But I kept doing tests, and I came scurrying back, and I was like, said to my then partner, now husband, I think we're going to have a baby. And he just went, nope, until you do a test, it's not happening. Until you do a test, it's not happening. So I did a test, negative, and I kept testing, negative, 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 negative. And my body kept changing, and I was bloated, and I lost my weight. I have quite a small waist, and I know when I'm pregnant because my waist just goes, it just disappears. And I had people looking at me going, you're pregnant. People would see it in me. I had an aura photo taken, and the aura photo woman pulled me aside and went, my darling, you're pregnant. It's showing up in the photo. But every test was negative. So I then went through a process of having the early miscarriage with no support. And I needed to find out what was going on. And I started going to doctors going, can you please help me? I need help with my system. I think I've had a miscarriage. And I'm not sure what's going on with my hormones. And my mother before she had me, she had one of these silent pregnancies where she knew she was pregnant and everyone told her she wasn't. And she went through a miscarriage on her own. So she'd gone through it as well. And I think some of this might be preparation for these children, like preparing the body for them to come through. I then went through years of this. It was very traumatic. My husband didn't believe I was ever pregnant. I went to a doctor and I asked for help with my hormones. I didn't ask for help to get pregnant. I asked for help with my hormones. And they sent me immediately to UCLH hospital here in London. They sent me straight to the reproductive medicine unit for IVF, to be put on the list for IVF, without asking me if I was ready, without asking, like, it was just robotic. It was, send me there. The woman I spoke to there was horrible. It was probably one of the most traumatic experiences. I was shouted at. I was told I was imagining things. There was no way I could have been pregnant, and that she would make me pregnant. She would make me pregnant through IVF. And I was a number on a list. And she told my husband that it didn't matter that he smoked. And she came up with all sorts of ridiculous things about health that didn't matter, and that it was going to be fine because they would make me pregnant. And I literally felt like I was being put on a conveyor belt. And I also knew at that time that I wasn't ready. I freaked out. But I went back for a few consultations with this woman, and I mean, she was so nasty. And I since have met another woman who also went to this same doctor and ended up writing a complaint letter to her because it was just direct. And I thought, if this is how they're treating women who are trying to get pregnant, treating us like just numbers, I don't want any part of it. And I stayed in the NHS for quite a while, and it just kept getting more and more traumatic. And I remember I was doing a Mind Body Spirit Festival in 2014, and I was about 3 or 4 months pregnant, and my body was just starting to really change, and I was getting really queasy, and I was doing this show, and I kept, you know, needing to sit down. And it got to a point where it was irrefutable, you know, it was irrefutable that I was pregnant. So I'd confided in a few friends about it, but my husband was still being like, don't be ridiculous, don't be ridiculous. And then I started to bleed on the last day of this festival, and I made him drive me to A&E, and they turned me away. They basically said, you have to leave. We can't do anything for you. You're not pregnant. And I hemorrhaged for, I think, about 2 months after that. And there've been like these miscarriages, they're early miscarriages, but there have been times, it is a physical pregnancy, because there have been times where I've actually caught the zygote in my hand, and there's been tissue, and it's been pretty horrific. After one of them, I ended up with MRSA in my womb because I got an infection because nobody would help me. So I've never gotten past about 4 months of pregnancy. It's always irrefutable to me that I'm pregnant, but it doesn't show up in a pregnancy test. And I have been for scans, and it doesn't show up on the scan. So people call me crazy or tell me it's a psychosomatic pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But the physical experience of it is absolutely real. Also, I know from a metaphysical point of view, when I have these, and I just went through another one, and I've lost count actually now. I think there've been about 14 or 15 of these over the years. And I also know that usually what happens is they happen during eclipses. They usually conceive during an eclipse. And then my period won't come. And the last one, again, was about 3 months. And I knew it was an eclipse, and I thought, oh no, this is happening again. And it's not something I want to happen, you know, kind of there going, no, not again. You know, I'd just been on a weight loss regime, lost loads of weight. And then all of a sudden it's like, great, body explodes. I'm flying to Greece tomorrow, and I'm going to be so much fun getting into a bikini. But it's like, you have to let go of we're letting go of all the material. We're letting go of who we think we're supposed to be, what boxes we're meant to fit in. And I just have to flow with it. You know, we were in Sri Lanka, and I had one in 2019, just before the pandemic. And it's just gotten to the point where I just let spirit take over, because there's no one I can ask for help from aside from myself and my teams. Yeah. At least now, you know, my husband and I have been through so much, and he's now on board. He now understands. He finally now understands. It's been a long, hard path, but he's started to step onto his path, and he just trained as a crystal healer. I'm like, oh, whoever thought that would happen? But it's also showing up. It flags up for me quite a lot around women's bodies, you know, and women in general, how we are not listened to. Women's intuition means nothing in this world. And actually, there was a time when the wise women were the first port of call for people to come to for healing and for knowledge. The spiritual side of healing has been completely just cut off at the root in these medical systems. And, you know, I'm not anti-medicine. My father's a doctor, he's a consultant physician in Australia. I grew up in, you know, going in and out of hospitals and medical. I think we need to bridge the worlds now. We need the science to meet with the mystical, because we are now at this time where, pregnancies aside, I have loads of clients that have physical symptoms and things going wrong with them, and doctors are scratching their heads and don't know how to help them or how to heal them. I mean, they can't even, you know, we know that COVID was lab created, but there is still so much about COVID and its symptoms that they don't know, that they can't heal or help. So I do think we're at an amazing time. I think we're going to have amazing, incredible inroads in medicine soon. But these pregnancies I've come to a point now where with every loss, it's been like an initiation. With every time I've gone through this, I've gotten stronger in myself, and I've become, you know, Mary Magdalene. I channel the Magdalene quite a lot, and she's constantly saying, you must become the tower. You have to become your own tower, your own pillar of strength. She was known as the tower. So that, you know, it's like we have to need nothing from no one, and remember that we are, you know, we have the power to do anything we put our minds to, and that there's so much courage in this. You know, women, we've been the most abandoned, rejected, neglected of this whole planet, and yet we're the most forgiving and the most loving and the most, actually we're the most resilient and the most courageous, because it's our soft power. You know, we can fall apart. How can we be so soft and yet so strong at the same time? And you know, this has really shown me as a woman the resilience that I have, and that I have, you know, we have access to the goddess, we have access to the void. I've gotten very comfortable in my shadow and in the darkness, and I've been through grief and been bereft and been left by the people who I love the most, and still been able to forgive and move on. And I know you have too, Alisha. I know you get that. And I'm sure many people watching this that are drawn to this interview will know that. I still have this child appearing to me, and I don't know if and when she's coming. Every time I think, you know what, I surrender. I don't need to have children. The other thing that's been happening, which is very interesting, talking about light conception, is I've seen a pattern. So the eclipses are a pattern, but the other pattern is every single time I've had one of these miscarriages, somebody I know has been announcing a pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I got shown really clearly that I was bringing through these high vibrational souls through light conception, and then I was handing them to other women. And I can't take credit for that, and I wouldn't tell these individual women that this is what was happening. But when some of these women were giving birth, I was also in labor. I was in Cambodia, staying in another floating over water bungalow. We have a thing about these things. And I woke up at 3-4 in the morning with the most excruciating womb pains I think I've ever felt, and it was not period pain. And then a friend of mine announced the birth of her daughter, and it's so supernatural. And I've tried so hard to stay normal, to hide and be a normal person, and to not be this weirdo that I am. It's very painful. It's very hard. I didn't, you know, my soul chose this path for me. I didn't necessarily choose it. I just wanted to be a writer. And yet I wasn't allowed to just write about anything. I had to write about wisdom and knowledge and alchemy. And you know, I think you can't break anymore. I think you get to a point where you think, I can't break anymore. And then you go ahead and break some more. And that, the last one, I was just like, this I think has put me on this crossroads of, with anything, I'll give anything up that is not going to support me and bring me the love and the integrity and the authenticity and the respect that I deserve. And I think all women should be like this. I think all people should be like this, because, you know, having had so many backs turned on me and doors shut in my face and people telling me I'm a weirdo and a psycho and wacko and whatever else, I think I've seen too much, and I've come through too much, and I won't tolerate that anymore. So I was willing to leave my marriage. I've turned away from friendships that don't suit. I've pulled myself right out of the medical system. I cancelled every referral, and I thought, this is not for me, and I'm not going back in there. And until it changes, until it opens a door into the spiritual and what we know is actually going on, and till the true knowledge is allowed to be out. So I'm happy to also not have children now. I think I've come to this decision where I don't know if I want to have a child anymore. I used to really want it, but I also am questioning, was this really my core desire, or is this part of the conditioning of trapping women? You know, we get trapped in marriages, we get a lot of our rights are taken from us. You know, the cycle of, oh, you're a woman, go get married and have a baby. Wait for your Prince Charming to come along. We've been sold a fairy tale that isn't true. And relationships are a lot more complex than that. And you're getting a lot of unconventional relationships coming through now. And I mean, God, the twin flame journeys, like some of this stuff is enough to send you mad. And if you don't stay on board with it and realize there's something going on here and we can't block it out anymore, you know. So yeah, I still don't know what's going to happen. I'm in touch with a lot of the women that had the babies that came through from my miscarriages. So that's a beautiful gift. And I would never begrudge another woman having a baby. I mean, these children are so gifted. There is something about these kids. And I know they came through a light conception. And when I meet with these children, the light in them is phenomenal. I mean, the light in my womb when I was pregnant was profound. It was just like white light streaming out of the womb. I remember I'd be giving healings to people and they would feel healing coming from the child in my womb.
Yep.
It's insane. Absolutely nuts.
Thank
So
you.
that's the journey. As bonkers as it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're in good company here on this channel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that so many women who will watch this will cry in a sense of relief or rejoice in, you know, someone speaking what they haven't been able to verbalize or what they're feeling, because I connect with these women and I know and I understand the heartbreak of trying to get medical proof, you know, that I knew in the very beginning I tried, but I was told initially that was not my path and to stay away. So I resonate with a lot of things that you've said, but two things I want to share that have come to mind is that, first of all, before I jump on a call, I always do a bit of a energetic tune in and or clearing, you know, and I went to tune into you and realize I didn't need to do any clearing, which like she's good. But as soon as I tuned in, I saw you and your daughter, and I saw both of you in very angelic light or imagery. Makes me a bit teary actually. And I feel like there's a story that I'll share that happened to me this morning, and it connects, but I would really want to say that from knowing you and getting to know you, I feel that you're such a pure angelic channel. I've never met anyone that has such a pure angelic frequency as you. And I know that you connect with all different sort of, you know, galactics, but angelic is very, very present in you. And I wonder whether you being, I don't even know what to call it, but being a bridge or a channel to allow these, you know, highly angelic beings through your portal into your womb, and then being able to pass them on to women who are ready to raise that child. And we don't know what's going to unravel in your journey. It will be no doubt in divine, you know, order of how it's meant to play out. But I can only imagine that if you are to have your child physically, just imagining, you know, if you're being prepared each time, and each child that's come through is, you know, just a slight increase in frequency, could you imagine the gift that she would bring into the world and into the new earth?
I know a lot of information about her and the frequency that she holds, and she holds Elohim frequency. She's very high vibration. I feel I need to share her name. She often wants me to share her name. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, should I share it or not? But her name is Ariel, and she's like the Little Mermaid. I mean, it's amazing. She's come through. Her name came through so clearly when I saw her as that little baby. And the first archangel that ever appeared to me, that ever really connected to me as a personal guardian angel, was Archangel Ariel. And as a little girl, I used to see this winged lion on the ceiling of my bedroom, the gold winged lion. And Ariel is the lioness of God, or the lion of God. And so I think that she holds Archangel Ariel's signature as well. She carries that signature. Ariel is very much the nature angel. She's connected to Mother Earth, but it's all about courage, and it's all about feminine courage, where, you know, Michael is masculine protection, warrior kind of thing. I think Ariel as a concept, even as a thing, the way I teach about angels is that they are very much a part of our own consciousness, part of the bridge between us as human and our divinity. So they kind of the angle on the pyramid, you know, they link us. So they're part of us, but they're also beings around us. It's multidimensional. But Ariel as the mathematical angle, as the frequency, is very much aligning us to divine earth. It's very much about, you know, heaven to earth, and the courage it takes to be able to hold that frequency and anchor that in, and to be strong in your softness. And she's very much that. And so I don't know, they keep showing me that also with my own journey, when I was born, part of what happened at the death point was that one soul was switched out for another. I was a walk-in, and I only found this out really recently. I don't think I was quite ready to experience it, but the soul that initially came in, that chose to die, really, like, that came in to experience the death, was a real warrior soul, like a real gutsy, like, and was constantly in battle. And so I've had to clear a lot of this battle karma, you know, like having to go to battle and go to war and whatever. And I'm quite a gentle soul, and I keep attracting conflict everywhere I go. I've just been through a huge court case as well. And it's just like, come on, guys, I can't deal with all this battle. I just want to be in love. And I know that a lot of us are doing this. And I know that there's also this battle of dark and light that is playing out, but it's playing out within us. We have to go in and heal those wounded parts of us. But one of the other things has been, you know, that it's almost like the walk-in aspect has been incremental as well. It wasn't like completely switched out one for the other. It's like an alchemy. It is like an alchemy. We've been letting go of that soul that initially came in little bit by little bit, and it's been like this gradual switch out. And so now I'm stepping much more into that angelic aspect of who I am, and carrying that angelic frequency. And I know that as a soul, we're all angelic. Everyone carries this frequency. But I think that for whatever reason, I've done this before, or I've become very comfortable in that angelic realm, and it's just where I'm most at home. And so I chose to kind of open that portal. I do a lot of death work as well as this birth work, and it's birth and death because of my birth, death, birth when I first came in. I do a lot of helping souls to cross over and, you know, opening the portal. So it's not just about birthing the new souls through, it's also about passing souls through. And I'll tell you what, some of them are coming straight back in, you know, someone will pass, and then the next thing you know, that you're helping them come in and be birthed. And it's very quick. It's because it's so holographic, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very quick. I've witnessed that myself. Yeah. It's fascinating. I'm just going to jump around a little bit because I do want to share this. It is relevant, and it happened this morning, and I wonder whether it happened this morning because we were going to talk. I too have been given very similar information. Some I share, some I don't, but around my children, that my children would not be born until we were in New Earth, hence New Earth children, or what I, you know, call New Earth, which is, you know, very similar, but just in a slightly different frequency. And it's something that's very hard to explain. It's like, I know it because I witness it and experience it in the multidimensional space, and especially my dream space. And I often have dreams of New Earth, and I know that women that I work with also, who've done different types of birthing, whether it be etheric, they meet with their children in New Earth. And I know that, you know, there's so many different facets to all of this. But I was walking this morning, and a recent concept that has been coming to me is that there's pockets of New Earth that are already existing, and that over time, or maybe rapidly, they will expand. So, you know, imagine pockets of frequency that are just...
We're here kind of helping that up. That's what we're here for.
And I've known this is a concept. I've seen it in sessions. And this morning I was walking where I always walk, except I went slightly down a different track. And all of a sudden it was tangible. I could feel it. I could taste it. I could sense it. And I heard very clearly, like, an auditory message coming saying, New Earth is right here. And I and I felt all the sensations that I would. And it was like all the drama that's been playing around in my head. Everything, like the message was so clear. It was like, none of that matters. It's all a pathway to, like you were saying, about the tearing away and becoming resilient. But in that moment, I just breathed it into my heart. And I was like, wow, and then I walked off the trail back onto the normal path.
I feel it while you're talking about it. It's like suddenly just gone.
It was palpable. It was palpable. And and I stepped off the path, opened the gate, walked out back onto the other path, and just like that, it was gone. So, real subtle. And I was like,
you can grab it. The energy becomes tangible. You can reach out and hold it in your hands, can't you? It's like it's plasma. It's like the plasma light. It's very viscous. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when I did a BQH session years ago to ask about my children, I was taken to that park and I was shown a Palladian ship land on that oval. And that sort of clocked in my head today. But I wanted to share that because I had this sense after that experience this morning that there is a quickening or an acceleration of that energy permeating more and more and different places. And as that expands, I think we're going to have a more conducive environment for more of these children to be birthed and come through, which,
Can I speak to the grid workers? Because
please. I know you teach on that, and I know that you've had a wild journey. So please.
It's quite major. A lot of people will be New Earth children already, like us, that have come in and that will be doing grid work and earth service work and may not realize that that's what they're doing, because they just go to where they need to go, just like what Alisha described, going to a place and feeling that energy. And I think that was you standing in a place and you activated that. So that's you you have been kind of guided to that portal. You've opened that portal there. It is like a cosmic alchemy that happens. The space and the human, the divine human, kind of react to each other, and then the opening happens. And I've been doing it for many years and guided to, before the pandemic happened, every penny I earned was spent on travel, and I was told where I would be going. And even when I didn't have a bean in my bank account, amazing things would happen. Like I ended up, I dreamt of this word was going around in my brain in 2015, and I dreamt of it, and I kept waking up to this Rapa Nui, Rapa Nui, Rapa Nui, and I thought, what is Rapa Nui? It sounds New Zealand. It sounds kind of Maori. And I googled it. It was Easter Island. And I have a huge Pleiadian guide called Gandar, and he's a big purple thing, and he comes in and I'm googling Easter Island, and the big stone heads pop up, and I'm going, Gandar, it's you. I was like, holy cow. Anyway, I ended up going to Easter Island because, without me mentioning this to anyone, by the way, my husband and I separately were sitting down talking about where we were going to go on honeymoon. And I was like, oh, I'd really like to go to South America. I want to go to Machu Picchu. And Tony was like, well, how about Easter Island? And I nearly fell off my chair. And, he paid for our whole honeymoon. So I ended up on Easter Island, and I get there. We're having a honeymoon. And suddenly there's a flight strike, and we're supposed to be there for 2 days. And this flight strike is going on and on and on, and they're running out of food, and you can't get off the island, and the military are called in, and we march on the governor's office. And I realized after about 7 days, shit, I'm supposed to be here. What am I doing here? And I hadn't done the work. And you think you're making it up. And Precious Wisdom, the system I channeled, is healing one-on-one, but it's also healing for the earth. So I have this attunement. And I was like, holy cow, I haven't done the work. So we drove up to the top of the volcano, and I did Precious Wisdom. I did my attunement. And the next day, not only did the flight strike lift, but after queuing most of the day in a queue, I then got this go to the airport. And I got a cab around the corner, went to the airport, a massive queue out the door. And this voice just went, walk to the front of the queue. And I walked all the way to the front of the queue. And I walked up to this woman and they said, ask for what you need. This is all my guys, ask for what you need. And I said, I'm on my honeymoon. I'm supposed to be standing on Machu Picchu right now. Please, can you get me off this island? And I was booked on the first plane off the island. I was one of the first people that actually got off the island. I got the reward for doing the work. And it's the same. I've been to Egypt multiple times, Peru, and I went to India and Bali 2019, early 2019. It was one of the last trips I did. And it was the same thing. My friend had asked me to come to Bali for her 40th. And I kept dreaming of Jaipur. Again, same thing. The alarm in my head, Jaipur, Jaipur, Jaipur. I get told where I need to go. I always have past life memories, or the memory of the space will be shown to me. And I always get shown the true history, not the history they've written in the history books that basically is, a lot of it is full of lies and women don't get a mention. I get shown what actually happened in the space. But oh my goodness, my husband comes home. Oh, honey, as a bonus, I got a £2,000 Virgin Holidays voucher. I can't go anywhere because I'm working. You have it. So I got to fly to Bali, have my friend's 40th with her, and I stayed an extra 2 weeks and had time in the jungle. I was channeling all this information about the jungle, and I kept getting, the jungles of the planet are about to regenerate. The jungles of the planet are about to regenerate. And after that, we had all the big fires and obviously then the pandemic. So everything became virgin again. But I went then on an all expenses paid to the Golden Triangle, to Jaipur and everywhere. Ended up in Ranthambore Tiger National Park. And the night before we went to Ranthambore, I was in bed and I thought, I wonder if we're going to see a tiger. And I was imagining seeing a female tiger. And all of a sudden, this portal opens up and this huge male tiger is looking at me right in the face. And I'm like, whoa, and the energy was off the scale. This was a ascended master tiger. He was really old, really big. And I was like, wow. And he said, you're going to see me tomorrow and we have information to share with each other. And I was blown away and I just felt in love with this tiger. I was in love with him. It was the biggest, amazing. And we got in the Jeeps the next day and people were like, oh, we're probably not going to see a tiger. And I was like, we're going to see a tiger. And we did. We saw it. We were halfway around the park and the driver suddenly went, the tiger's been spotted, the tiger. We went. His name was Fateh. He's one of the oldest and biggest tigers in India. And when we saw him, he was with a female, which is unheard of because they only come together during mating season. And they were like, this is amazing to see them together. So I started talking telepathically to this tiger. And first I said to him, I want to know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me, please stand up, turn around and sit down again. He looked at me. He slow blinked. He stood up really slowly. He turned around in a circle. He sat down again. He looked at me and he slow blinked again. And then he started talking to me. And he said, what do you have to tell me? And he said, I don't like humans. They've destroyed our habitat. He's told me all his opinion of humanity. And I said, well, I'm here to tell you there are new humans here. There are new humans on Earth and I'm one of them. And we've come to help heal the Earth. And I'm here to tell you, I've just been in the jungle in Bali and the jungle spoke to me and the jungle said it was about to regenerate. And he said that he was not going to mate with his mate. He didn't want to procreate because he didn't want to bring tiger cubs into that world. After I delivered the message and we said goodbye, I was sobbing, I was crying, I was crying my eyes out because of this connection and this beautiful soul that I was talking to. And everyone was looking at me like, what's this woman crying for? Looking at the tiger. I was like so blown away and so honored, like so humbled that he'd chosen to appear to me and speak to me. And then we got up to leave and I said goodbye and we drove off. And suddenly the driver went, oh my God, look. And the tigers were racing towards our Jeep. They're running towards us through the jungle, careering through the jungle. And we stopped, and then they stopped in the middle of this clearing and mated in front of us. And it was like he was showing me, okay, I'll have children. And I feel the same way. I understood him, because as part of me, I don't want to have children in this system. It has to be in the new system. I think my body's been, I think half the time my body's been spitting out these pregnancies, because it's like, no, not yet. It's not time.
Yeah.
It has to be the right time. That message from Fater, it was so special. You know, I ended up buying myself, I have not wearing it, but I bought myself a little ring with an orange stone in it that actually looks like the shape of a tiger's head, because it was just such a powerful, beautiful, and I still connect with him like telepathically now. He's like a soul brother. But what a privilege, and this is how we're now communicating, even human to human. I mean, how many of us are dreaming of each other and passing information, you know, through non-verbal communication, through our body language. We're starting to learn how to communicate in light language, in quantum, and there's so much going on that is so profound that they can't put it in their boxes. They're not going to be able to stick it in their little patriarchal boxes anymore. We're just we're too advanced. We're too accelerated. You can't stop it. Happening.
It is happening. It is all happening. And I think,
well, I've gone from going, I don't know how much I'm going to talk about, to bloody lifting the lid on everything. So if people didn't think I was a weirdo before, they're going to think I'm completely nuts now. But you know what? Screw it.
I thank you and I honor you, because I know how hard it is, but at the same time, I know that sense of liberation that comes of like, well, it's all there now. Take it or leave it.
I'm right out of the closet now. Sorry.
And I think I felt this, that the more we can openly talk about it, own it and claim it, the more it materializes. I know, like with your daughter and Ariel, and how she wants her name, you know, spoken. You know, I've had messages like that too, of, you know, because I have a noticeably distinct pregnant body and have done for years, and that's very hard to navigate a human life. So I you know,
that takes a lot of courage. You've been so courageous.
So, you know, I wear baggy clothing. You know, I don't wear anything that sort of shows my body. And because I've just gone through a massive physical healing transformation, which was part of this year and journey, I was told. And through that, I've lost a lot of excess weight, which makes my stomach even more obvious. Whereas I think maybe for a long time I gained a lot of weight as a way of concealing that I could just look overweight, you know, but I can't now. And so that message around don't hide anymore. Like, yeah.
Don't hide. Oh. Alisha. This is how it was. This is how it was in Atlantis. This is how it was in Lemuria. This is how it has been. This is how it was in Egypt. The metaphysical, the supernatural, the unexplained on the logical level is part of our natural, true, original blueprint and birthright. And we have to have that balance. We cannot have one or the other. And we are way showers, and it ain't easy being a way shower, but you wish it on anyone. But
Right.
oh my God, I'm so honored to know you, honey. I'm so honored that we've been connected, because like you say, like to have somebody, just to have one person that understands what it's like. That when I found you, oh my God, I literally stood in my kitchen sobbing. My husband's looking at me going, what's going on with you? I'm like, I found another woman like me. But my God, I mean, you've been far braver than me. I mean, you amazing.
I think it's all part and parcel of the journey. And like, as you said, like I echo that. Like, I mean, obviously I chose this path, but you know, from a human standpoint, I didn't want to be the crazy person talking about concepts I didn't even know about 7 years ago, you know. And you know, I've had to fast track and remember a lot, you know, as I'm sure. But I think so many things that you've said tonight have just struck in me in such a core way, and I know I can I'm holding back emotion. I'll probably, when we finish this recording, I will have a good cry, because I find that doing these interviews really brings up, and it's a beautiful, it's tears of like relief and joy. And I think that story that you shared about the tiger, and that has just, I don't know, I saw it all playing out as you were sharing it. I feel connected to that soul. I don't know.
He's so here while I'm talking about. I can feel his energy, and it's like powerful being.
It truly, truly is. But I think one real big takeaway was that I really felt deep in my core was to be the tower. And, you know, had this journey is so much shedding and resilience. And funnily enough, I remember saying about myself less than 10 years ago, one thing I didn't have is resilience.
You do now, girl. Wow.
Yeah.
You can't not now. And you know what? I'll tell you what's happening at the moment that has blown my mind. So much of this, you know, we go through it alone. There's so much of this going through it alone. Until what a gift to be connected to each other. But I mean, recently, having gone through the court case, anyone can find out about the court case. I won't give details here, but it's all public and it's all online, and it is to do with that book. Well, the title of that book. But one of the things that I experienced going through that initiation was extreme loneliness, and feeling like everyone had left me to my own devices, and that I was being made to walk through something so hard. And I felt like everyone in the spiritual industry was judging me. And that's the problem, isn't it? That it's an industry in the first place. But it's now transpired that a lot of people were silently kind of rooting for me. And I've had messages, beautiful messages from beautiful people saying, well done for standing in your truth. And that has meant the world, absolutely meant the world. And I think sometimes you really are tested on your resilience and on your love and your forgiveness as well at times. You know, you have to stand in your power, but do it with love, still do it with love. But I think once you really say yes to it and don't shirk from it and don't shy away from it and own your power, really go, well, if I'm going through this, I'm meant to be here, and I'm absolutely going to pull myself up by the bootstraps, whether it's pregnancy or whether it's doing spiritual work for the planet, or whether it's diving into depths of forgiveness and love that you never thought you had. If you embrace it rather than, you know, I used to be so, I don't want to go through this again. I can't go through this again. And I'd be on my knees with my head on the floor, crying my eyes out and feeling like I was being torn apart. And this last one, I went, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Here we go again. I'm just going to become like water. I'm going to open and I'm going to let spirit move through me like water. And I'll be the vessel I have to be. And whatever is going on, my logical brain does not know the half of it. I know what I think I know. I know the bits I do know. I don't know it all. And so I'm just going to get out of the way and I'm going to let it unfold. And then I think when we can do that, no matter what hardship we're going through, I think that's when the clarity comes. That's when we get the answers, when we let go and we stop having resistance. And like you say, we become the tower, but we're also the water tower. You know, we're also like the pillar of light. It's a two-way stream. It's letting go and calling in and letting it move through you. And I think that, God, it takes courage, but actually it's so simple. It's just love at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is, and so beautifully said. I mean, you're such an inspiring speaker, and to listen to you, and it instills so much joy and gratitude and faith, renewed faith in me. So I want to thank you
You too, honey. It takes one to know one.
I know that you've published your own oracle decks. I know one is out. I don't know if the other one is coming out, but I want to give people, I have two questions before we wrap up. First of all, I'd like you to talk about what's up and coming for you. What are you working on? Also how people can connect with you, which I've already got it organized. I'll put the links in the description box if you'd like to connect with Alexandra and all her amazing offerings. But also, so what's coming up, and the other one is what would you I'll go into the next one. What have you got coming up?
I'm like, I'll just go well, the first thing I brought out is this is my oracle deck. It's called Archangel Fire Oracle, and funnily enough, it has Ariel on the cover. This is Archangel Ariel, and so it's an alchemical. It's not your usual oracle. It is actually an alchemical healing journey through 40 archangels, and so you get a message. You can pull a card to get a message, but they're deep processes, and there's how to connect with the angel, how to embody the angel's energy, and how to use the alchemical fire of the archangels to burn away whatever is extraneous or I guess what you don't need anymore in order to step more into your own angelic soul aspect. I kind of feel like we should pull a card. Maybe we'll pull a card.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that might lead into my last question.
This originally was supposed to be called Archangel Alchemy because it was a body of 12 years of my work, and it started as a column I wrote in Prediction magazine when I was the editor of Prediction. It started in like 2009, but I developed it into courses, and it's now a healing system in its own right. And after the court case, I got back the rights to use the words Archangel Alchemy and the book. And actually, it's been an absolute blessing because information I had to take out, this was originally going to be a book, and information I had to take out in order to make it into a deck has gone back into the book. But the thing I've done with the book is it's much more the bridging of the science and the spiritual, because it's angelic technology. It's the sacred geometries and the symbols that the angels gave to me. I've shared everything in this book. So the whole healing system is in this book. It's a handbook really for awaken people on an awakening path. And because I didn't have the tools when I was going through it, I wanted to share everything. It's a big book. It's 336 pages, but I go through everything from psychic development, how to develop your clairvoyance. I've teach my whole channeling. There's like multiple books within a book. So the whole channeling book is in there. All my psychic protection. I talk about psychic attack. I talk about false light. I talk about twin flames, one flame. I talk about the angel and devil within, working with the shadow. But I take you on a whole journey with those 40 archangels as well, to attune you to every single one of them. And there's more besides, but I've put at the end of every chapter the science and the scientific studies that back up the existence of angels, that back up why this work works, and bring about the bridging, the truth of why we need the spiritual in healing. And it's like reconnecting it all. There've been amazing studies done at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. There's an amazing guy who brought out the book called The Spirit Molecule, all about DMT. And also they say that a lot of DMT spikes happen during trauma and traumatic experiences, but people who were part of the study on working with DMT reported visitations from angels and galactic beings. There were actual reports of them experiencing stepping beyond the dimensions. And, I know talking about going through the birth trauma I went through and my mind being so open, and it's not just clairvoyance. When I have an angelic visitation, it's physical. They're there. It's real. It's so there's a lot of information in the book, and I also talk about the science of light language and how that bridges you into other dimensions. There've been amazing studies. Dr. Raymond Moody talks about that. So that's coming out on the 18th of October on Kindle, and will be out in paperback, I think, in November. But I'm teaching the healing system. If anyone wants to be trained, it is a certified healing system now. So I'm training people in Archangel Alchemy, and Also got new dates for Precious Wisdom, and my World Angel Global Grid Worker course is starting on the 23rd of August. So that's a 6-week journey. We do live earth service. So as a group, we come together, we look at what's happening in the world, what's on the news. We work through, you're activated to all your own tools, your own gifts of grid work, and we work actively on the ley lines. We clear control grids. We do all kinds of stuff, and stuff that I haven't even heard of comes through when I'm opening to channel. So it's a beautiful group. I've taught it a couple of times now, and it's all women. I've put it out to men. So if any men want to join, you're welcome to join. But so far, I've had 2 groups of 22 women go through the World Angel program, and I have a live Facebook group too. So we're always on there, you know, swapping stories and showing people our little crystal grids that we're making and all kinds of cool stuff. So
That sounds so
so
much
yeah,
fun.
so that's it. So I'm back at work. I've been in the writing cave now for ages. My next oracle comes out early next year, I think spring next year, and it's called the Water Alchemy Oracle, and it's all about water and the magic of water and the waters of the body. I talk about the waters of the cosmos. And again, it's an alchemical journey, but it's through 40 cards. But I'm talking a lot about the science of water. And I've gotten involved with the people who are affiliated with Masaru Emoto's work.
Oh, just
Yeah, it's something called the Water
that,
Peace
yeah.
Project. Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's free. So on the 11th of every month, they do these free water meditations, and you just focus on the water and you send peace, because water is so programmable. And if we can heal the waters, we will heal the world. I mean, the water is life. We can't exist without it. And I mean, I love that it's all free. So I've put in the books for these decks. I mean, they're not booklets, they're actual books. They're 144 page books, and so there's a lot of information in them. But yeah, so that's the next one. But should I pull a little card?
Can you?
We've got time.
My
I'm probably
final
rambling
question
on.
was like, what guidance did you want to share with anyone who's watching? So
There we go. My first words are believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and put yourself first. Trust your own guidance and your own knowledge and your own authority over the authority of anyone else. There's a lot of disinformation, and I think the whole fake news, not news thing has been a real gift, because it's forcing people in. You know, if you don't know who you can trust yourself. Listen to your body. Your body is your emotions are not a negative thing. Emotions are your compass. They will show you the truth of any situation. So yeah, I think believe in yourself, trust your inner guidance. Really, that's how you become the warrior of life, and be your own pillar, be your own tower. Be your own tower. Okay, what does everyone watching need to know? Which angel do we need? I love it. This one came up the other day too. So she's so present at the moment. So this is Archangel Zuriel, and Zuriel is actually one of the angels that govern the zodiac sign of Libra, and I'm a Libran, so it's holding the scales of justice. But she's all about the 0 point and staying in the center. It's the energy that holds the very planets in the sky. And also, you know, I see this is where we get free electricity from. You know, this is what the Great Pyramid was originally designed for. But she's basically saying, you know, just stay in your center, be your own tower. And, you know, she's depicted as a female whirling dervish, and the dervishes, they spin in devotion to the divine. It's a euphoric thing. So, you know, like, I kind of get this message, you know, if your world feels like it's in a spin, go with it. You just go with the spin, let yourself spin. I'm going to read the little message too with Zuriel, because she's all part of the violet ray as well. She sits alongside Zadkiel very nicely. She's number 27. I love that. Don't be in a... So she says, call upon me to bring harmony, diplomacy, and fair play to all your interactions. I will help you restore your equilibrium. And, you know, you can imagine, you know, if with all the chaos going around us in the world at the moment, and with everything that just feels so confusing and so overwhelming. I mean, even those of us that are spiritual teachers, we get overwhelmed with this stuff sometimes. And the more you know, the more you experience, right? So it's drop into your center, find the eye of the storm, rest in the stillness, and just let it move around you. It will rearrange itself eventually. The biggest the biggest kind of tool I have is trust.
Yeah.
It's trust. I don't know how things are going to work out, but if I trust that things are going to work out for the absolute best, they will. And that's how we put our hands on the steering wheel of life. And that's how we steer it towards the highest course and the highest timeline for us. That's how we fly the jet plane towards where we want to go, not to where we don't want to go. So if we let go of the worry, and even if it looks hellish, let go of the worry, give it to the divine, and stay in absolute trust. And it will come good. It always comes good in the end. You will know. And even if you don't have the answers, I still don't have the answers. I've got very comfortable in the unknown. But that's the mystery. That's where all the magic unfolds, is in that dark, that void. And
oh, I love that. Thank you. So that reminds me of an image that I'll probably post later that I saw in my memories today, and it was an image of things swirling around. It was actually a couple, like two people, and it said, it's not chaos, it's cosmic reconstruction.
It is exactly cosmic reconstruction. That's it. And it's not destruction, it's transformation, isn't it? There's new coming in to take the place. It's doing that Vesica Pisces kind of middle path is opening.
Yeah. Well,
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much for taking the time to share, such a profound story that you've never shared before. I feel very honored that you would open up and speak openly, because I think
it's out there now.
It's out there.
Wow.
So thank you so much. And I'm sure that we'll reconnect again soon. I just want to thank everyone for watching too. And I hope that you've enjoyed as much as I have sitting down and speaking with Alexandra. So thank you so much. And until next time. And just big hugs and kisses to everyone, and especially to you. So thank you. And we'll connect soon. Bye.